Hello there, my RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. Ground in Steel is an upcoming action-adventure, which I already covered on the channel before. In the meantime, the studio behind this game released a massive new patch for the demo, so I really wanted to try it out again. I remember enjoying the demo a lot, and I actually completed it a couple of times. It can take you an hour or two, depending on how you play it, and if you want to find absolutely everything the demo has to offer. The reception of this demo was pretty good, and ever since then, the game is in full development. So I will follow the development and make updated videos about major updates and news about the game. Ground in Steel has a very old school design with an interesting directional combat system. A very enjoyable action combat system that's unlike any other action adventure out there. That's why I'm really excited to see the full release of this game. Ground in Steel also has a very brutal combat, you can literally cut off limbs of your enemies. In other words, it features a full dismemberment system. The combat is very skill based and it definitely has a unique learning curve, but once it clicks with you, it's hard to stop playing. The demo only features a handful of enemies to fight and a boss fight at the end, but it also has a great old school level design that's really fun to explore. I really can't wait to see more content for this game and some more levels, enemies to fight and weapons to collect. There is a very simple and automatic leveling up system, but they plan to work on this feature in the updates. The whole leveling system is going to be reworked, and they plan to add a skill tree with unlockable combat moves and passive bonuses to better balance progression. If you played a very old game called Blade of Darkness, you will probably notice a lot of similarities in Ground in Steel. Weapons with different combos, brutal combat, and even some old school animations for drinking potions. Combined with a very enjoyable level design, Ground in Steel is definitely one of my most favorite upcoming indie games. We still don't have the exact release date for this game, but you can try out the demo for free on Steam and leave them some feedback. I will try to refresh your memory a little bit about this game or introduce it for the first time if you missed my last video about it. So we are going to talk about all of its major mechanics, how the game works, what's the latest patch all about, the demo in general, and so on. This game is obviously going to be focused almost completely on combat, but there is some story to be found. Mostly from the lore pieces you can collect during the level, and the latest patch added more notes that will explain what's going on. At least for the current demo level, so I assume the full game will have more context about the story in general. But the demo is very straightforward, and the moment you start a new game, you jump straight into action. You play the game as this huge guy who looks a little bit like Conan the Barbarian, and the first task is to escape the prison. Yeah, my boy can punch holes through huge concrete walls, yet these enemies think they have a chance against him. Okay. Interestingly enough, you can find special weapon type for fist fighting, which is not something I remember from my first time with the game. In the beginning of the game, there are some tutorial hints that will try to explain the mechanics to you. The latest patch improved these hints by including some useful visualization of mechanics, but you will really have to get used to the control scheme and the unconventional combat system. It takes a while for the controls and the combat to click with you. As with every gameplay system that is not so conventional, the combat is directional, no matter which weapon type you're using, and you have to combine different attacks in order to be effective. I played the game with my Xbox controller, and the control scheme is really snappy once you get used to it. You have to use 2 buttons at least to perform the combos, by the way. So for example, if you want to hit left then right, you have to use the left thumbstick and the attack button, which is R1 by default. You always have to use the thumbstick with the attack button for directional swings. And of course, there are more attack directions that you can do, it's not just about left and right. For example, once you start combining the dodge with your attacks, the combat in this game starts feeling like something you never experienced before, unless you played Blade of Darkness. I can think of a few action RPGs or action adventures which use directional attacks. For example, Mount & Blade games always had an enjoyable and simple directional attacks. The Surge games come to mind, and most recently, Blades of Fire. Anyway, you can follow up the step dodge with a directional attack, but it has to be on the opposite side of the dodge. The positioning is very important in this game, and using this to your advantage can help you dominate enemies. They won't make it easy for you though, since they can also do everything we mentioned. Enemies can dodge your attacks, and they have some pretty cool animations for it. Speaking of which, the latest patch has polished a lot of animations, making the combat even smoother. Over 200 animations have been polished for the player and the enemies. Enemies received new attacks and dodge animations. Falling and landing, as well as death animations have been improved in the patch. Dismemberment is now more precise, and the blood splatter effect is bigger and better. Those are some pretty nice updates, but let me tell you about my favorite update from this patch. Most weapons in this game have a special combo that you can try to perform in order to deal a lot more damage. It's usually around 3 different attacks that you have to do in a combo, involving different directional attacks. Your character will then execute a special attack animation, and if you manage to land this hit, you'll deal noticeably more damage. It can be tough to pull it off, especially in crowded fights, but I was pretty much spamming these special attacks with two-handed swords. There are 2 unique two-handed swords to pick up in this demo, and you can easily miss one of them because you need to find a key to open a special room. Tier 3 combo attacks have been added in this new patch. These attacks can deal up to 4 times the normal damage. I was checking out all of these special attacks for each and every weapon I got my hands on. But as always, I was sticking with the two-handed sword because the special attack with this weapon was almost one-shotting everything. Like I said, it can be tough to pull it off, but it's very rewarding. They said that we can expect to see a lot more of these attacks in the full game. Some weapons now deal bonus damage against shields, like axes for example. Some of the enemies in the demo will wear shields and they are noticeably tougher to beat because they block most of your attacks. They can interrupt your combo and stagger you. However, there are ways around this. And by the way, all shields are breakable because they have a durability system. Your weapons and shields have a durability system as well. I know these kinds of systems can be annoying, but that wasn't the feeling I was getting from this demo. Player can no longer get stun locked by multiple enemies ganging up on you, but they can still hit you hard. Pretty self-explanatory, and I noticed that you can now get out of tough situations like this if you try hard enough. Enemy stagger bar has been hidden as it was more distracting than useful. Yeah, I think it's probably smart to hide it because the game will require you to fully focus on how you perform your attacks and positioning, so it could be distracting. Although, to be honest, I like to see those bars on enemies, and I hope they maybe add this as an option to turn it off or on in the menu when the full game drops. I mentioned how you can find a special key for the locked room, and this is only one of the examples of the enjoyable level design in the demo. It's a linear experience for the most part, but there are reasons to go back to areas you discovered already, secrets to find, and a couple of different paths to take to do the same thing. For example, you can find alternative ways to enter the same room and ambush these enemies that could otherwise overwhelm you if you entered the room from the front. Or for example, this roof can be accessed by climbing rocks from the side instead of taking the stairs, that kind of thing. The way you save your progress is by finding these shrines, and you will respawn at the last shrine you used if you die. We got to see some open concepts for the level design in some of their updates, so I'm guessing that some levels will be more open compared to this demo level. That being said, I think there is a lot of room for improvement here, especially when it comes to enemy types and bosses. Now, obviously, this is still just a demo, and we're probably going to see a lot more enemy types in the full game. The boss fight in the demo is great for this beginner level, or the demo itself, but I expect to see a lot more bosses with more mechanics in the full game. I mentioned some of their plans for the future, but here are a couple of things I didn't mention. Weapon throwing. This mechanic should add even more dynamic to the combat and make more use of having lots of same-ish regular weapons found throughout the game. The most metal thing related to this mechanic is being able to throw severed limbs of enemies, which is also a feature they want to add. I don't even have to explain why that's cool, right? Also being able to throw random stuff like empty tankards, chairs, etc. I mentioned they're going to improve the leveling up system and add skill trees for unlockable combat moves and passive bonuses. And if everything goes right, all of this should improve the game quite a bit. I really can't wait to see more updates and cover this game again in the near future. I think it has a great potential to be a spiritual successor to Blade of Darkness. Anyway, tell me your opinion about this game in the comments below, and did you perhaps play Blade of Darkness before? You can also try this demo out yourself on Steam for free if you find it interesting. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want to go a step further, consider supporting your boy by becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon. Huge thanks to all my current supporters, and I'll see ya in the next one.